My name is Sam Motton, and with me is Jason Book, Star Wars fan extraordinaire. Hey, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, Sam?
Pretty good. We're going to be talking about Star Wars The Force Awakens. We're going to be covering the good, some of the things that I thought were not so good, and we are going to talk freely about the movie. So if you're trying to protect yourself from spoilers, just a heads up on that, we are going to be getting into the big events of the movie. So let's start with the good. I know you really enjoyed the movie, Jason, so maybe start off with some things that you really liked about it.
It was just a really nice, refreshing take on Star Wars after the prequels. It did call back to a lot of the earlier stuff in, especially A New Hope, but I know that's what they were going for. But I really just found it was a good time. I thought the pacing was good, the action was good, and they did some cool things that I hadn't seen in Star Wars movies before. And the characters seemed like they were having fun with each other, even when things were going bad. Whereas in the prequels, a lot of it seemed like they really were kind of acting off script. This time it seemed like they were kind of just, we were kind of going along the ride with them. And I just thought overall it was just a much better made movie and a lot of fun at the theater.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I mean, it's definitely clearly a big step up from the prequels. I think that was, a fairly low bar, but it cleared that. The dialogue, was just written a lot better than the prequels. There was direction
Yeah.
given to the actors to actually have some character things to play off of. So like the characters in this movie actually have some character traits and they have some personality and stuff, so that comes alive more.
Yeah.
Visual effects I thought were good. I mean, overall, there were some lens flares in the beginning, but I think he kind of got them under control. As the movie got in, they I thought were pretty controlled. And at the beginning, there was kind of some sort of hectic, manic camera shaking and
A little bit,
lens
yeah.
flares and stuff. But it settled down, and actually, it became not really much of a distraction.
Yeah, yeah.
After that, overall, I mean, I thought the visuals were really good, and it's on the short list for the Oscars for visual effect, which I think is pretty fitting.
Yes, of course. Eh?
But I did enjoy a lot of the callbacks that you mentioned. A ton of callbacks to New Hope, and then even
Oh,
to
yeah.
some of the other ones as well. Like as it was going through scene by scene, I'm like, oh wow, this is a cool kind of echo of these things that have happened before. I was expecting it to try to recapture the spirit of the original series, and that's what they kept talking about.
Yes.
But I didn't expect them to sort of go, beat for beat through a lot of things from A New Hope.
Yeah.
So, and it was kind of cool. I think it'd be fun, like if I see it for a second time, to sort of map out those different echoes.
Yeah, and I really like the way they did things, like having them escape that, Death Star Destroyer type ship in a TIE fighter. You never saw that before. And the way you got the first entrance of the Falcon in the movie being a character itself, it was so cool to take something that we've seen tons in the other movies and put a new spin on it. I love that stuff in the trailer that we thought was Han Solo probably flying around the wrecked Star Destroyer. He totally wasn't even the ship there. And that was something really cool, like the real handing of the baton off to these new characters.
Right, and showing how good Rey is with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Like she kind of took to it really naturally.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Some other good things that I liked Rey as a character overall. I
Yes.
thought she was really strong. I think she might
Yeah.
be the strongest thing in the movie.
She was great. It was really fitting. I mean, like, we've seen so many good movies, over the last 20 years or so really start to have more of a strong female lead, and Star Wars is no exception. I mean, Princess Leia didn't always get tons of screen time, but for that era, she was a pretty strong female character, and it's cool to see them continuing with that.
Yeah, and I think taking it up a whole nother level, because like they didn't throw her in a bikini or anything. And really,
It's only the first movie.
but I think, I mean, so my wife and I were talking about Rey, and we
Yeah.
were both impressed because almost everything that Rey did, it didn't actually matter what gender she was. It could have been a male character, it could
true.
have been a female character. She just was her own character.
Yeah.
The only thing that was sort of female specific was that Finn kind of had a crush on her.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, you could have had a male doing it, which I think is good. I mean, just write the character, have this be a good character, and you don't need to make it female in
Yeah,
some way.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really good. And I thought the actress Daisy Ridley did well with it.
Totally.
We still have a lot of unanswered questions about like her family. I took it to mean that her dad was maybe taken away to be a stormtrooper, but we didn't really get this full backstory of who she was waiting for, what her relationship is to Luke, that kind of stuff. So a lot of unanswered questions, but she seemed like a strong character to start off.
Yeah, I love that we don't know what's going on, and the fact that she developed all this force kind of, sensitive power things. At times in the movie, I thought this is happening too fast, but it really, in the end, paid off well, and pretty excited to see where it goes.
Kylo Ren, I didn't think Kylo Ren was perfect. I didn't love his mechanical voice. I thought it was weird that they did two reveals of him taking off his mask. Like he takes it off for Rey, and then he takes it off again for Han. I thought maybe it would have been more powerful if he had just taken it off for Han, because Han would kind of call him out and say, like, you don't need that mask, which would get the audience to be like, oh, really? He doesn't? And then he takes it off.
Maybe, yeah.
But I also, so I didn't love his voice. And I didn't love that J.J. Abrams like got so many close-ups of Kylo Ren with his mask, because there's nothing to look at. I mean, like the whole bottom half is just black,
Yeah.
and he has a little bit of the ridges over his eyes. But I'm like, when you give me a close-up of that, I've got nothing to react to as an audience member. I thought if he kept the medium shots to at least get some body language, to me that would make more sense. Or if they had given him more with his mask, like if there was more to look at or some more character to the mask, then maybe it would justify so many of the close-ups. But I just found myself like, okay, you've gone to a close-up on the screen. It's like I've got nothing to look at, and it kind of kills the momentum of the scene, I felt.
For me, honestly, the fact that they've laid this character out to be such a devotee of Vader, I really looked at those shots from a different perspective, you know? Like, I thought he's really, you know, kind of goes and does his little seance with the mask and talks to it, and then you show that a lot. But besides those scenes, I really love the character, because I thought that the way he was getting angry and, like, destroying stuff with his lightsaber and stuff, we hadn't seen that kind of stuff before. And I like the reveal twice, because there's obviously some history there with Rey, and I like that we don't know that yet. And I got to tell you, just as an aside here, the internet did not spoil this for me at all. And all the months leading up, I read so much about it. I love that I was floored by the reveal of who he was. And even just hearing his first name for the first time, like I really enjoyed the character. And I thought Adam Driver with the mask off later did a great job too. And so, you know, for being the first movie, I feel that they kind of set the bar pretty high for this villain already. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I still have him as one of my good things. I just didn't think he was perfect. I mean, I did like the sort of unhinged nature of him, and how he does have these tantrums.
Yes.
Because he's obviously trying to be like Vader, but Vader was like very cool and collected, and he would be angry, but it would be this anger that was really restrained into his like neck pinch or whatever. Kylo Ren, when he gets angry, he actually loses it.
Totally. And that's what's cool. It makes it different, you know?
Yeah, so I thought that was good overall. One thing that I thought was something that I didn't get as much of as I thought, and I feel like it was sort of planted but didn't go anywhere, was the Knights of Ren, because they mentioned he's the leader of the Knights of Ren, but we didn't see anything of the Knights of Ren. So, like, to me, that's kind of one thing, like, oh, I guess I have to wait for the next movie to actually get any payoff for the Knights of Ren.
Well, no, it was that flashback scene where you see them all standing there, and apparently that scene is one of those scenes where they're explaining, it was just kind of like that Rey flashback part. It was in the same thing, right? And the Knights of Ren apparently had something to do with probably, you know, overthrowing all the Jedi that Luke were training, and to do with him turning bad. So it's one of those things where, remember before we recorded, I thought maybe they'll use flashbacks in a different way. And it looks like they've kind of done that in this movie, but without using, you know, direct footage from the old movies.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can't really call that a payoff for Knights of Ren. I mean, that was basically a glimpse that they exist. Like, so we have it mentioned in dialogue that they exist, and we get a glimpse, but they have not paid off in any way in terms of filmmaking. True,
but I would say that because of the way this is set up, I wouldn't be surprised if the timeline might show us stuff from the past in the next film.
Yeah. And that's going to be a big thing. So when I go through a lot of the negatives that I had for it, a lot of people are going to say, well, that'll be taken care of in the second movie. That'll be taken care of in the second movie. That'll be taken care of in the second movie. And I think you can get away with some of that. You want to have some of it that is leading you into the second movie.
Right.
But I feel like this movie is putting way too much onto the second movie. I feel like it didn't have the resolutions and the payoffs in this one.
See,
but
for
we'll
me,
get to that yeah, go ahead.
I felt just that it really held its own as its own film, though, as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not feel that. But a couple other good things. I thought Chewie was really good in here.
Yes.
I liked the new character of Maz Kanata, I think was her name.
Yeah.
I thought the design on that character was good. I thought she came in, played the little part that she needed to play, and I thought it was okay that then that was it for her.
Right.
But I thought she was a kind of a cool character.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, it was, there's a couple parts where I was like, okay, we have more CG again, but it was a cool use of CG. Like, the character was not what I was expecting at all. And the interaction of those scenes was pretty interesting as well.
Yeah. And then, so spoiler alert, you've been fairly warned now. I did think Han's death was a pretty good scene. Like, I think
Yes.
they brought a little bit of emotion to it. So I had not had this spoiled for me that Han was dying. Neither did my wife, and we
Yeah.
watched it together. But we both saw it coming like a mile away. So she saw it coming, like that whole scene. She's like, "Oh, this is gonna be the scene where he's gonna kill him." And I actually saw it coming even before that because the trailers actually spoiled it for me. And the way that the trailers spoiled it for me was the trailers showed a lightsaber battle with Kylo Ren and Finn in the woods.
Right.
And when I got to the Han Solo scene,
Yeah.
I knew that the woods lightsaber battle had not happened yet.
Okay.
So that means that somewhere in the future of this movie, Kylo Ren is still totally the villain, the bad guy, and he's having a lightsaber battle with Finn. Therefore, I know that Kylo Ren chooses the dark side. So if Han is walking out, he's obviously going to kill Han.
That's
so for me, the fact that like by process of elimination, I just knew that Han's going to get killed.
Yeah, but that's kind of reaching, Sam. I think that, I mean, it could have ended up that he chopped his hand off or something. We don't even know. He could have still been bad without Han Solo dying. See, for me, as a fan of all the movies, pretty much, as soon as Han Solo stepped onto that set that really reminded me of the part in Empire where Luke goes out to fight Vader, I knew he was going to die. And as a huge fan, that hit me hard right there. And I have to tell you, if you think about the movies as like kind of a mirror image of the original trilogy, this really works well with him dying, because instead of Kylo Ren going to be redeemed eventually, this is basically like the guy is going to get even worse and probably the worst bad guy they've ever seen, and they're going to have to kill him. There's nothing else they can do. You can't get this guy back to the light side with Leia and stuff. I can't see that happening. This guy killed Han Solo, and he needs to die.
And he's much more of a loose cannon, right? Like Darth Vader was bad, but you kind of knew what to expect. He's sort of like, what's he going to do? Because he's that loose cannon.
Yeah, so as a fan, I really liked that when he stepped on there and hit me in the gut, I knew he was going to die. It was really powerful for me.
Yeah, well, this is what I was going to say. So it was spoiled for me, but that did not ruin the scene. And this goes back to something that you and I talk about a lot, which is that I don't think spoilers spoil
the storytelling, right?
Yeah, right. People, people will say like, "Oh, it's got to be really protected that people can't know that Han dies." It's like I knew that Han was going to die. Even it hadn't been spoiled for me, but I just deduced that Han was going to die. I still thought the scene was really good.
Yeah,
it didn't spoil it for me that I knew that that's where he was walking out to.
I actually thought when he handed him the lightsaber kind of thing, like it looked like he was like, "I need your help." I thought that was going to be the interesting use of why it needed to have that lightsaber going out the side.
Yeah,
because I thought that's how he was going to get him. But anyways, I thought it was really well done, that part.
Yeah, so I agree. So even though my wife and I both figured it out, it still can be an effective scene, and I think here it was an effective scene. Spoilers don't spoil people.
That's true. That's right. You got it.
So I have some. So do you have any other big positives that you want to mention? I mean, overall the visuals. I mean, I got to keep saying we're good, but we could talk about those all day. I think overall they pulled off the visuals really well. But any other positives that you saw?
Honestly, for me, it's just a lot of it is the whole movie. It was hard for me when that opening crawl before it started and we didn't hear that classic music because they can't use it. It was 20th Century Fox, for it to feel like Star Wars right away. At first I'm like, is this going to feel different? And as soon as they got down to the planet and things started happening right away, it felt, well, this kind of feels like Star Wars. But you know what it was for me? As soon as Kylo Ren stopped that laser bolt in midair, and they did something totally new with it that Lucas never thought to do that, and made it its own thing. That's when it really felt like Star Wars for me. And the whole movie from there on, there was a couple parts, up and down. I really didn't like the CG part of that weird creature fighting with, chasing Han Solo and Chewbacca and stuff. But
that was on the Millennium Falcon, like with the smugglers.
Like it really reminded me of something from the prequels, right?
Exactly, but me too.
Yeah, other than a couple things like that, like I got to tell you, it really kept the vibe of the original Star Wars movies. And the characters seemed like they were like having fun in the midst of all the chaos, like jumping in a TIE fighter and then jumping in the Millennium Falcon and fighting bad guys. And I really came away from it like really, really impressed just overall with the whole finished product.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely enjoyed it. For me, I'm kind of right now oscillating between like giving it a 6 or 7 out of 10, because for me, there were quite a few things that really stuck out to me as problems or things that were not done well. You mentioned the scene with